Ladies and gentlemen, hear me today. It is not always the giants on the outside that defeat us, but the whispers on the inside. The enemy is not always in the battlefield before you. Sometimes the enemy is in the battlefield within you. Your emotions, unchecked and unguarded, will sabotage your progress long before your circumstances ever will. Think about it. Anger has destroyed more homes than poverty ever has. Fear has kept more dreams buried than failure ever could. Pride has closed more doors than rejection ever would. It is not the weight of the world that crushes us. It is the way we carry it in our hearts. Your emotions are not bad in themselves. They are signals. They are alarms. They are indicators. But when you let those signals drive your decisions, you hand over the steering wheel of your destiny to something that was never meant to lead. You can pray for opportunity. You can plan for success. You can prepare for greatness. But if you cannot master your emotions, you will watch opportunity slip through your hands because you reacted when you should have responded. You quit when you should have endured. You spoke when you should have been silent. Your emotions will talk you out of blessings your mind has already recognized. Life will not always be kind. People will not always be fair. Situations will not always be easy. But the power lies not in what happens to you. The power lies in how you govern what happens inside you. Some of you are fighting shadows outside when the real war is raging within. The storm outside you is never greater than the storm inside you. And if you don't learn to calm the storm inside, every outside storm will look like the end of the world. Discipline is the weapon against emotional sabotage. Discipline doesn't bow to feelings. It bows to principles. Destiny doesn't respond to tears. It responds to discipline. Some of you are asking God for breakthrough, but God is waiting for you to master yourself, because until you learn to rule your feelings will keep ruling your future. You see, the truth is this: every breakdown begins when emotions rise higher than wisdom. Every downfall begins when feelings are louder than faith. You can't make permanent decisions out of temporary emotions. You can't let a moment of rage cancel a lifetime of progress. You can't allow a season of fear to bury a lifetime of calling. Hear me now. You don't lose to life. You lose to the way you react to life. The challenge is not always what is done to you, but what you allow it to do in you. If you master your emotions, you master your destiny. If you let your emotions master you, you'll forfeit the future that was waiting for you. Your emotions are powerful, but they are also tricky. They have the ability to make you see things that aren't there, to convince you that obstacles are mountains, and to whisper lies that keep you from stepping into your destiny. Your mind can recognize opportunities. It can see the path that leads to success. It can plan, prepare, and strategize, but your emotions will often arise up like an uninvited storm to block the vision that your mind has already achieved. You may wake up with clarity, knowing exactly what decision will move you forward. But anger, fear, doubt, or frustration can creep in and make you question what you already knew was right. You might have a chance to speak up for yourself, to ask for a promotion, to start a business, or to take a step of faith. And yet your emotions will whisper, it's too risky, you're not ready. What if it fails? And suddenly, the opportunities your mind saw clearly become invisible through the lens of what you feel rather than what is true. Emotions have a way of distorting reality. They can make small challenges seem insurmountable. They can make criticism feel like condemnation. And they can make temporary setbacks feel permanent. You can have all the knowledge in the world, all the skill and preparation. But if your emotions are not aligned with your reason, you will hesitate, you will procrastinate, and you will talk yourself out of doors that were already open. Some of the most brilliant ideas, the most promising relationships, and the most life-changing opportunities have been ignored, abandoned, or avoided because the person allowed their feelings to overrule their wisdom. Excitement can make you impulsive. Pride can make you stubborn. Fear can make you paralyzed. And sadness can make you withdraw. And in each of these moments, your mind knew the truth, but your emotions refused to cooperate. You may know that a particular decision is the one that will lead to growth, that a challenge is temporary and manageable, that a person is trustworthy and aligned with your goals, and yet that the tug of emotion can make your mind question itself, second guess itself, and even surrender to self-doubt. Emotions can be loud and persuasive, and they often arrive uninvited, but their influence does not have to control you. You can pause, breathe, and remind yourself that feeling overwhelmed does not equal reality. That feeling scared does not mean the path is blocked. That feeling unworthy does not mean you are unfit. When you allow emotions to override your recognition of blessings, you may miss the very things that your heart and mind were yearning for, the doors that were already open, the opportunities that were already prepared, the people who were ready to walk alongside you. Every blessing that comes your way requires discernment, patience, and the ability to rise above the emotional noise, to see the truth with clarity, and to act decisively even when fear or doubt tries to hold you back. Your emotions are not your enemy by nature, but they become your enemy when they talk louder than reason, when they obscure the path your mind has already illuminated, And when they make you question what your spirit already knows is right, the storm outside you can be fierce. It can howl and rage. It can batter your plans and shake your confidence. But it is never greater than the storm inside you unless you allow it to be. Life will throw challenges at every turn. Storms that come in the form of loss, betrayal, rejection, failure, or unexpected change. And they can make the world feel heavy and unbearable. But the storm inside you, the turmoil of your mind, the unrest of your emotions, the fear that whispers doubt into your heart has the power to either magnify the outside storm or calm it completely. When the storm outside hits, it tests your resilience, it tests your patience, it tests your faith, and it forces you to confront the truth that control is an illusion. But when the storm inside is managed, when your mind is disciplined, when your emotions are tethered to reason, the outside chaos loses its power to break you. Many people spend their lives blaming the storms outside for their failures. But the truth is that the external world is rarely as strong as the resistance within. You can be in the middle of a hurricane, in the middle of financial struggle, in the middle of relational tension, and still rise above it if the storm inside is anchored in clarity, courage, and confidence. The moment your internal storm becomes louder than the external challenges, your perception of the world shifts. Small problems feel insurmountable, minor setbacks feel permanent, and fleeting mistakes feel catastrophic. It is not the event itself that defines the impact on your life, but the interpretation, the reaction, and the surrender that happens internally. Some of the strongest, most successful people you will ever meet have faced storms that would have crushed the unprepared soul. Yet they endured because they had mastered the hurricane within. They understood that fear, doubt, anxiety, and anger are not facts. They are feelings, and feelings can be managed. The outside storm may rage, but it cannot steal your peace unless you hand it over. You can choose to let worry dictate your steps, or you can choose to respond with faith, patience, and strategy. Every storm teaches you something about yourself if you are willing to listen. But the lessons are lost when your inner turbulence drowns out your judgment. It is in the stillness inside, in the calm center of your heart and mind, that you find strength, clarity, and vision. You can navigate any hardship, endure any trial, and rise above any challenge when the storm inside is disciplined and steadfast, and you realize that external circumstances are temporary, but internal mastery lasts a lifetime. The storm outside may shake buildings, may topple trees, may create chaos, but it cannot shake the foundation of a mind that is focused, a heart that is courageous, and a spirit that refuses to surrender to panic, fear, or despair. The battle is not always fought on the streets or in the boardrooms. It is often fought in your own mind, in your own heart. In the quiet moments when no one is watching, when the voices of doubt, anger, and fear threaten to take over, and your response to those voices will determine whether the external storm defines you or whether you rise above it. Feelings are powerful, but they are not always wise. They can guide you toward what is good, but they can also mislead you, distort reality, and derail the life you are capable of building. If you cannot rule your feelings will rule your future. Because every decision, every action, every step you take is influenced in some way by the emotional state you allow to dominate your mind. Anger can make you say things you will regret. Resentment can make you hold back opportunities that are rightfully yours. And fear can stop you from moving forward when the path is actually clear. Excitement can make you impulsive. Pride can make you stubborn. Jealousy can make you short-sighted. And sadness can make you withdraw into a place of inactivity. And in each of these moments, your feelings are shaping the choices that will determine the life you create. You may know what is right. You may see the path that leads to growth. You may understand what needs to be done. But if your feelings are left unchecked, they will speak louder than your reason, louder than your discernment, and louder than your faith. People often blame circumstances, other people, or luck for where they find themselves. But many times it is the ungoverned feelings that dictate the outcome. When you make decisions in the heat of anger, you shall regret. When you make decisions in the shadow of fear, you sow hesitation. When you make decisions driven by temporary excitement, you sow instability. Your feelings are powerful influencers because they are immediate, they are visceral, and they are persuasive, but they are not always accurate. They respond to perception rather than truth, to mood rather than principle, to circumstance rather than purpose. Every great achievement, every successful person, every life that has reached extraordinary heights, he has one thing in common. They have learned to rule their feelings instead of letting their feelings rule them. They pause before reacting. They reflect before deciding. They measure their emotions against wisdom and strategy. And they refuse to let temporary states of mind determine permanent outcomes. Mastery of feelings does not mean suppression. It means discipline, awareness, and intentionality. It means recognizing when anger is trying to control your mouth, when fear is trying to control your feet, when jealousy is trying to control your vision, and choosing instead to respond with thoughtfulness, courage, and integrity. If you fail to do this, your feelings will dictate the direction of your life, turning opportunities into regrets, potential into mediocrity, and dreams into unfinished plans. But when you learn to govern your emotions, you reclaim the steering wheel of your life. You decide your trajectory, not your impulses. You shape your character, not your moods. You build your future, not your reactions. Every decision made under the control of unbridled feelings moves you further from your purpose. And every decision made under the guidance of disciplined emotions moves you closer to the life you are capable of living. Your emotions are meant to be your servant, not your master. And the moment you hand over control to them, your future is at risk of being dictated by whatever feeling is loudest in the moment. Life will test you. It will challenge you. It will push you to the edge. And in those moments, your first instinct may be to cry, to complain, to question, to give in to sorrow. Tears are natural, they are human, they are a release, but they do not move mountains. They do not open doors. They do not create the results you desire. Destiny is not swayed by emotion alone. It is forged by action, by persistence, by consistent effort, and by the willingness to do what must be done even when you do not feel like doing it. Many people believe that feeling sorry for themselves will earn them sympathy, or that lamenting their situation will change their circumstances. But destiny does not work in response to pity. It works in response to preparation. Discipline is the unseen force behind every great accomplishment, every victory, every triumph that history remembers. It is discipline that wakes up early while the world sleeps. Discipline that practices long after enthusiasm fades. Discipline that continues even when motivation is gone. And discipline that remains steadfast when failure threatens to define the moment. Tears may express frustration, fear, or grief, but without discipline, those emotions remain trapped within, turning into regret, hesitation, and lost opportunity. People often wait for inspiration to strike, for emotion to ignite action, for passion to carry them forward. But destiny does not wait for feelings to catch up. It responds to deliberate, consistent effort. When you rise above the impulse to complain, when you push past the urge to give up, when you continue showing up day after day, you are speaking the language of destiny. Discipline is choosing to do what is hard today so that tomorrow is better. It is choosing preparation over procrastination, persistence over panic, and faithfulness over frustration. The world may not notice your tears, it may not acknowledge your sorrow, and circumstances will not pause for your despair. But the disciplined person continues, moving steadily toward their purpose, carving out results that emotion alone could never create. Tears can accompany the journey. They can mark the struggle. They can validate the pain, but they cannot replace action. They cannot substitute for effort. They cannot substitute for the grind, the practice, the consistency required to transform dreams into reality. Every story of success, every tale of triumph, every life that overcame odds has discipline at its foundation, not endless lamentation. Discipline teaches endurance, resilience, patience, and perseverance. It trains you to act when feelings fail, to step forward when fear paralyzes, and to rise even when circumstances seem insurmountable. When you understand that destiny does not respond to tears, you realize that complaining, feeling sorry for yourself, or wallowing in sadness is wasted energy unless it is paired with intentional action, preparation, and relentless commitment. Tears may cleanse your spirit, but discipline shapes your reality. The person who achieves their purpose is not the one who cried the most, but the one who worked the most, who persevered the most, who refused to allow circumstances, emotions, or setbacks to dictate the outcome, and who understood that consistent effort, focus, and unwavering commitment are what destiny recognizes. Every breakdown begins when emotions rise higher than wisdom. When feelings take the steering wheel and reason is left on the sidelines, powerless to guide the journey. Emotions are powerful forces. They can inspire, motivate, and move you toward greatness. But when they dominate, when they overshadow judgment and discernment, they become dangerous, destructive, and deceptive. Anger can erupt like a wildfire, consuming relationships, opportunities, and trust, and leaving behind ashes of regret that could have been avoided with a moment of reflection. Fear can freeze your feet when the path is open, whispering lies that tell you you are unprepared, unworthy, or incapable, even when your mind and heart know the truth. Sadness can spiral into despair, convincing you that challenges are permanent, losses are endless, and hope is out of reach. While wisdom would remind you that circumstances are temporary and your response determines the outcome. Every breakdown begins in these moments when feelings cloud judgment, when temporary states of mind are mistaken for truth, and when impulsive reactions override careful consideration. Pride can blind you to correction, causing conflicts to escalate necessarily, and jealousy can make you act against your best interests, all because emotion has risen above wisdom. Many people fail not because they lacked knowledge, skill, or resources, but because in critical moments they allowed their feelings to dictate actions, leading to mistakes that could have been prevented by patience, reflection, and reasoning. Emotions are immediate, they are intense, and they demand attention, but they are not always accurate. They respond to perception rather than fact, to circumstance rather than principle, and to desire rather than reality. When anger, fear, impatience, or envy are allowed to control decision making. They distort perception, magnify obstacles, and create problems that did not need to exist. Every breakdown carries a lesson: the need for self-control, the necessity of patience, and the power of aligning feelings with wisdom. Even when life is difficult, when circumstances are overwhelming, and when people disappoint, maintaining a clear mind, a steady heart, and a disciplined spirit prevents emotions from rising unchecked. The wise understand that emotions are signals, not commands, that feelings can inform but should never dictate, and that the measure of a person is not the intensity of what they feel, but the restraint and thoughtfulness in how they respond. Every breakdown begins subtly, often unnoticed, with a small decision driven by irritation, fear, or frustration. And from that moment, consequences grow, cascading into regret, conflict, and pain. Learning to recognize emotional triggers, to pause before reacting, to breathe, reflect, and act with intention is the safeguard against unnecessary breakdowns. Wisdom is the anchor that holds you steady when emotional waves crash against the shores of your mind, preventing the tide from sweeping you away. Every breakdown, every moment of regret, every opportunity lost can often be traced back to one truth: emotion was allowed to rise above wisdom, overpower reason, and guide action. He's creating chaos where clarity could have prevailed. You don't lose to life. You lose to the way you react to life, because life itself is neither kind nor cruel. It simply presents situations, challenges, and opportunities, and it is your response that determines the outcome. Circumstances are neutral. They are events, moments, and experiences, but they have no inherent power to define you unless you hand over that power through your reactions. People often blame life when they feel defeated, when things do not go their way, when obstacles appear insurmountable. But the truth is that life is not the enemy. Your reactions are anger, frustration, fear, despair, and impatience are all reactions that can amplify problems, turn temporary setbacks into permanent failures, and create losses where there might have been gains. A sudden loss of income, a broken relationship, or a missed opportunity can feel devastating, and yet some people rise from the same situation stronger, wiser, and more successful than ever because they chose their response carefully. How you respond to life is a reflection of your inner strength, your discipline, your emotional intelligence, and your perspective. Life will challenge you with situations that are unpredictable, unfair, and often harsh, but no external event can destroy you unless you allow it to control your mind, your attitude, and your actions. Reacting impulsively, giving into fear, or surrendering to discouragement hands over control of your life, to temporary feelings rather than permanent principles. Resilience is not built in the absence of trials. It is built in the way you meet trials, in the patience with which you endure hardship, in the courage with which you act when everything seems uncertain. Some people experience far greater challenges than others, and yet they flourish because they understand that control is never found in circumstances, but in the choices made in response to them. Every failure, every setback, and every disappointment carries within it an opportunity to rise if the response is thoughtful, measured, and purposeful. Life will test patience, push limits, provoke anger, tempt despair, and challenge faith. But these tests are not what defeat a person. The defeat comes when the mind surrenders to emotion, when decisions are made from reaction rather than reflection, and when temporary discomfort dictates permanent outcomes. To master life is not to avoid storms, obstacles, or pain. It is to master your response to them. To rise above immediate impulses, to act with intention, and to navigate challenges with clarity, courage, and wisdom. Those who blame life are powerless, but those who understand that the key lies in reaction hold the power to transform setbacks into comebacks, losses into lessons, and obstacles into stepping stones. Emotional discipline, patience, strategic thinking, and resilience are the tools that shape your response. And through your response, you shape your destiny. Life may deliver circumstances beyond your control, but it cannot determine your path unless your reactions give it that authority. And every choice to respond wisely builds strength, clarity, and momentum toward the life you are capable of creating